Cambodia could save 20% on their electricity bill as a country.
Okay.
By just from tomorrow saying, for the next 10 years, we just have efficient ACs. And so, on all electricity.
Everywhere,
because everyone has. I mean, we can't. In this room, right? We actually have an efficient one. LG smart inverter, great. But we need just to have that and it's possible, and it's affordable, and it saves everyone money, and I think it will happen. The government have the policy in place. Hi everyone, I'm Richard. People in Cambodia call me 𝐂𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐿. I work for WWF, the Panda NGO, and I'm here today to talk about clean energy and my dreams for the future of a kind of greener, cleaner world. So good to meet you. I'm Richard. Yeah, as discussed earlier, people call me 𝐂𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐿 in Cambodia. It's a bit easier. I've been here 4 years, and I've been working for almost 16 years now on climate and energy. And even I got into it about 20 years ago. I did a year studying abroad in Paris. Worked in the private sector, worked at the UN, and then now working for WWF, the Panda NGO.
Awesome. So before we go to WWF, you work also now on energy efficiency. You work more around clean energy.
Yes, I've done different things in my career. So I started, the first job I had was working in China, in Shanghai, working basically for a carbon offsetting company and a renewable investment company. So we were investing in wind power, some of the earliest solar power projects in China, some kind of industrial waste projects, some landfill gas projects, or different projects in China. So I started that, and then after 4 years I got a bit frustrated by the private sector, and it was all about making money, so I decided to move to the UN, first in Geneva, then in Nairobi, working more on policy and climate change and energy and environmental policy with different governments, mainly in Africa and a bit in Asia. Then I decided that was way too slow, that the UN was too bureaucratic, and so then I went and worked for a startup in Kenya, selling solar panels and cook stoves in rural Kenya. Then I moved, stayed in the private sector working for a consultancy, also kind of helping some investors invest in these kind of energy access companies in Africa, again on solar and cook stoves. And then 4.5 years ago, I've moved to Cambodia and decided to try NGOs, and working in NGOs here in Cambodia, now at WWF, and working on energy efficiency and different parts of the energy transition here in Cambodia. And actually my role is global, so I work here, I work in Vietnam, even in Kenya still, and Philippines and a few other places.
Okay, not only Cambodia. And you told me your most ambitious project right now is for a neighbor country, Vietnam. Can you tell us about this project?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fresh on my mind. Last night I got back from Hanoi, so I spent a week visiting factories in Hanoi. I mean, for the last here in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia and Vietnam, the industrial sector, so factories, there's just a lot of factories everywhere, like 1 million people working in factories here in Cambodia, probably 3 times that in Vietnam. It's like a huge sector is industry. And what's kind of crazy when I visit is that we're in 2025 and they're still using to boil water for ironing, or using for steam for ironing, for dyeing clothes. They're still using coal in Vietnam, or here they're using wood. And we have the technologies to do those processes with clean electricity, from solar and from clean electricity. So I guess one of the main projects is working with some textile factories of how they can switch from using coal to using electricity for their processes. Yeah.
And when we come here on the way, you told me the business case makes more sense in Vietnam than Cambodia. Why? But also there are other surrounding challenges why it might make more sense in Vietnam than Cambodia. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, I mean, going pretty quickly, the main problem, why do you not switch from using coal or biomass to electricity? Even though it's cleaner, it's safer, it's more modern, it's more efficient. Well, the main thing is that it's more expensive. And the reason is that here in Cambodia, the wood is very cheap, or coal is very cheap in Vietnam, and electricity is expensive. But here in Cambodia particularly, we have this very cheap wood that factories can burn to make steam. In Vietnam, they don't have that, so it's a bit more expensive coal. And then second, electricity price here is quite expensive in Cambodia. There are some reasons and good reasons why that's the case, whereas in Vietnam, electricity is cheaper, so it makes more economic sense. And then I think as well in Vietnam, there's a slightly more, it's been developed for longer, so there's more engineers, more people to work with there, I'd say, although I think Cambodia is changing and improving fast.
Yeah, so it's not only the business case, it's also the human talent capacity around it to support the transition.
Yeah.
That can block or not.
I'd say so. I mean, I think in Cambodia, even in WWF, I have some great young engineers that we work with, and I know some great engineers in Cambodia, but I think in terms of number of engineers, a number of people that can work on these technologies, it's still a bit, there's fewer than in Vietnam, which has, had a longer period of being open, a longer period of training kind of, top class engineers.
And with this project, you already signed or that you might have in Vietnam for WWF? What is the scale of this the potential on energy efficiency or on CO2 reduction compared to the business as usual scenario?
Well, I think the potential is huge. I think we estimated something like 1/3 of all of Vietnam's emissions come from the use of coal in factories for producing heat. And so it's
1/3.
1/3 of all emissions. It's
huge and much more than Cambodia.
It's huge, and then the total amount would be huge. So the potential is huge. I mean, some of the sectors are harder than others. The big ones like cement, steel. That's maybe more going to happen in the 2030s, but in the 2020s, we should be looking for all of this kind of lighter industry, textiles, food and beverage, that they can switch to electric soon.
And here we don't focus on F&B. In Cambodia, we talk mainly about garments. It's because there is not F&B. It's not so huge compared to Vietnam, or we could also consider program on energy efficiency for F&B sector here.
Yeah, I think there are, and I know there's some projects which are looking at the F&B sector. I think if you look at in Vietnam, what you have is, as well as the things we have here like breweries and some food process, they have more food processing, so making more like noodles and things like that. But also in Vietnam, what they have is huge like seafood processing, cashew processing, and I think that they're just a bit more in that sector as well. Vietnam has a little bit more
heavy industry and so big energy consumer.
Yeah, I mean Vietnam is like number one processor or exporter of cashews. A lot of the raw stuff's from Cambodia, but it's processed in Vietnam. Seafood, they're like number one prawn, one of the biggest timber processors, and it's not F&B, but they have this industrial base which is larger than Cambodia. But Cambodia has other, still has the big textile sector, and then but yeah, not as big as
I don't know if we have to cut this, but you told me Vietnam is more sensitive than Cambodia regarding environmental or even clean energy transition. What can we say about this difference between Vietnam and Cambodia, about the willingness to change, but also how hard it is for other stakeholders, other international NGO, development agency to work in this different context?
Yeah, I mean, I think the political system is different from here to Vietnam. I think here, I mean, in Cambodia, there's a strong history of NGOs contributing to the country. We work, for example, we have another project working with on training solar engineers here in Cambodia with Don Bosco. I don't know if you know Don Bosco. It's like a vocational school, but these NGOs in Cambodia is a unique almost country that NGOs have played a big role in building the country. In terms of training, like Don Bosco has been one of the biggest trainers of electricians for years, whereas Vietnam has a very strong government, and they've trained, they have their own kind of government-led electrician training program. And so I think it's quite a different, here in Cambodia, the space for NGOs to work in has always been quite large, and the government are very, very open to NGOs working here. Whereas I do think in Vietnam, the history is very different. And yeah, we have a great office. I think we have like 300 people. They're doing great work, and the government really appreciates it. But yeah, I think Cambodia is like almost exceptional in how kind of open things are here.
Yeah, that's interesting, because still we have on deforestation, for instance, in Cambodia, a big issue, but still there are a lot of openness to welcome initiative on that.
Yeah, and I think if you look here in Cambodia, like, you have Wildlife Alliance in the Cardamons and CI, you have WCS and us in Mondulkiri. We're doing a lot of the lifting and of the work, in collaboration with the government, but as real kind of partners. Yep. Whereas I think in other countries, it's different. Here there is a kind of, there's some really great work that the NGOs are doing to support the government. But yeah, I mean, the deforestation, problem here as well is well known.
When we see all this great initiative, sometimes on the paper for a program, it looks awesome, right? But you've been working in the environmental sustainability sector since the beginning of your career, and I told you sometimes I feel a little bit even stressed or pessimistic about what we can really do and achieve for 2030. Probably not big change. What about 2050? What's your point of view about, and feeling also about what we can do or not? In a pragmatic way about this change on sustainability.
Well, I'm super optimistic about the energy transition in terms of, I think we're going to do it. Like, I think at the start of my career, we could have been more pessimistic, but I think, from say 2009 when I started working to now 2025, 16 years, we've seen so much like progress on so many issues. And like, I think to achieve, a low carbon world, what do we have to do? We have to switch our power system from coal and gas to solar and wind and batteries. And like countries, I'm from England. England has gone from, being, one of the earliest and biggest users of coal in the whole world to having zero coal on its grid and having huge, like high rates of, days where it's almost 100% renewables. And so, I think and that was almost unimaginable when I started my career in 2009. I think on EVs, like the progress you see in China, Norway, and in certain countries of like the rapid uptake of EVs. So not using petrol, using EVs. So using electric vehicles is crazy. And then when I visit these factories, I'm like, this is doable. We have the technologies. They're not that expensive. They're going to get cheaper. And we can move from using coal in a factory to using electricity with a problem. I think the issue is the speed. When you're in it, it always feels that it's not fast. And compared to how fast we need to go for the science of climate change, it's never good enough. And the rate of change is not good enough. But we know where we're going to go. It's achievable. And so, I'm kind of optimistic. And I guess everyone, maybe I'm getting older. I think, as I said, I was in the private sector, got frustrated. In the public sector, get frustrated. Private sector, get frustrated. NGO, many days I get frustrated. I think maybe now I realize that all of them have some use. All of them have their own challenges, but I think that, if you look macro, you step out a bit, you see that changes are happening. Everyone's contributed to those changes. And the next, and we need more work from everyone and faster work from everyone to get, to stop terrible climate change that we in Cambodia feel, right? Like it gets hotter every year. I've been here, it's getting hotter.
More than new, I asked you maybe last question was for bold dreams about innovation and so on, but maybe it's not innovation we need, it's speed. So how to accelerate the transition.
Yeah.
So what do we need, you think, to make it faster? I know in your project you need private sectors, they invest, but the factories, they need to invest themselves. There are of course financial instruments, but what kind of stuff can help us to accelerate that?
To get faster, it's a good question. Well, already I think we should all realize that we need to go faster and not accept the speed at which we're going. And sometimes I think in NGOs, and definitely when I was at the UN, and sometimes I feel when you work with the governments, not just Cambodia, wherever there's a kind of, okay, let's take things slowly, let's not change. I'm like, no, the science requires that we go faster. We can go faster. What's stopping us? Like I take the example here in Cambodia of the air conditioning, like, you can still buy very inefficient air conditioners in Cambodia. The law that, I feel that we could really go fast and just quickly have a law that says, right, we're only going to have, 4 or 5 star top air conditioners. It's going to save the average Cambodian money. And then, and then you can't sell. And okay, for a while, maybe there'll be still some selling, but, to have that, but why can't we move faster? So I think, there are just a few topics like that where I'm like, and in the UK, well, why can't we get people to much more quickly, say, everyone has solar on all new houses. Everyone has a new heat pump in their house. Everyone, we know that from a certain stage, we stop selling petrol cars, and we're not telling people to get rid of their current cars, but that we say, right, by a certain date, no new electric car, no new petrol cars sold. So I think all of that can happen and can happen faster. And then NGOs have a role of pushing people to go faster. The private sector has a role to get new business out, new kind of innovation, but also new business lines and new pushing new products. And then so we all kind of have a.
But for instance, to be concrete or have numbers in mind, just on the AC, if we cannot purchase low efficient air conditioner, what's the potential actually just for Cambodia or by AC? I don't know if you can give us a number of the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think the estimates that I've made is something like 20% of, Cambodia could save 20% on their electricity bill as a country.
Okay.
By just from tomorrow saying, for the next 10 years, we just have efficient ACs. And so, on all electricity, because it's
okay for industrial or for mainly domestic or commercial building.
I mean,
it's like everywhere,
because everyone has. I mean, we can't. In this room, right? We actually have an efficient one, LG smart inverter, great. But we need just to have that and it's possible and it's affordable and it saves everyone money and I think it will happen. The government have the policy in place. It's just from a personal perspective. I wish we could just get it in place and done, because it will save everyone money and so move faster. And I think probably the big thing I would say, and we talked about this, right, a few years ago together, how to get more people as well in the sector and more great people. I think a lot of people are looking for meaning in their career. Yeah. How do we get more people to work on this topic and be passionate about it and to bring new energy and bring new skills to the energy transition? And personally, that's for me something really important. And you do a great job at kind of bringing people and getting them changing from maybe doing something less, sustainability related into sustainability. And I think there's huge potential. And I'd say in my career, when I look back, probably the biggest impact you can make is getting someone to make that switch into a sustainable career. And then 40 years of work of some great professional, that's a huge impact that you can have. So I think there's getting more people involved in the sector and focused on it, and it's a huge business and money-making potential for everyone. So, you know, getting even more people to work in the sector would be good. You know, is important too.
It's still difficult to transition. Sometimes, of course, there are a lot of soft skills that you can apply to other sector. But when I have a client, they ask you for a specific role, skill set. You still need to come with some technical background, hard skill. That's okay. You want to transition for some role. I don't know if you work in communication, marketing, or in support function. Yes, but not on the technical side. It's less achievable to help people to transition there.
Yeah, but I still think there's lots of roles in these companies. Like you need sales, you need marketing. You know, in a clean energy company, how many people are doing the engineering? Some, and it's important. And you need to train those people, and you need to have those people and have hard skills. But then there's a whole set of other, you know, it's about, you know, selling and operations and organizing. And I still think even in the sector, we can always want to have people who have a lot of experience in solar, but actually, you know, if someone's passionate and they can learn pretty quickly the technical stuff or enough technical stuff for their role, and then can do a really good job. And I see plenty of people
making project organization more efficient if you are
exactly
a strong professional.
And so I wish, you know, we could have more, you know, even professionals who do dedicate their career to this sector. Maybe
just to conclude, some key takeaway that we had from the discussion is finally more than bold innovation or dreams around sustainability, how to change the world, is to be aware that we need to change faster and push to accelerate the transition. It's for me the key takeaway you mentioned today. Also on the more simple aspect in Cambodia, if we change all the AC with efficient AC, we can do 20% saving. And a crazy number is that Vietnam is 1/3. What did you say about Vietnam?
Well, 1/3 of the emissions from energy sector is from energy is, from our estimation, is from heating for industry. So burning stuff to make steam, make cement, make things, but not electricity. When we think of sometimes energy, we think just electricity, but we still, you know, when you cook at home, right, you use electricity for some things, but you use gas and others. So there's a huge amount of the energy sector, which is not electricity, it's heating stuff. And so how do you stop using so much, say, coal to heat stuff is what we need to do.
Huge potential.
Huge potential, yeah.
Awesome. I like to have key numbers like this to remember and...
Yeah. I'll try and give you some more next time.
Actually, if you have others, you can send me some. Maybe I can attach it to the YouTube video description or some links. By the way, do you have, I don't know, any call to action or anything you'd like to share?
Well, I think probably the big thing is, if you're thinking about moving into the sector, if you're like, okay, this is interesting for me, sustainability, something I've wanted to consider. I'd be happy to talk for free. For anyone looking to move into sustainability and talk about what skills or what kind of roles could be applicable. And then, if you have any jobs in your company available, but I can also connect them with others. So I'm always happy to do that. And like I say, in my career, that's probably the biggest impact that you can have is helping others to contribute their time and their energy and their skills to building this cleaner world that we can build, and we can build fast.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cheers on site.
Cheers.